Hello, everyone, and welcome. Chelsea versus Liverpool, a game of two halves. A game that in the first half was extremely exciting, extremely entertaining. Second half was extremely exhausting, fully kind of exasperating in a way. And I feel as if both sides are just okay with the way it ended. Luis Diaz and Axel disasi both scored. Salah and Chilwell both scored offside goals that were ruled off. And Chelsea outpossessed Liverpool by 65.3 to 34.7%. And honestly, I feel as if the possession and the shots on target are really the biggest narrative here, in the sense that you're looking at the way that Chelsea was playing. They were playing very organized. It was almost as if, all the players were connected by a string. They knew, one player moves this way, you move that way. It was, very fluid by Chelsea at times, and Pochettino seems to have drilled them really well. But there is a lot to discuss beyond just that. Salah did hit the post from outside. This is how Chelsea lined up with a 3-4-2-1. Disasi at right center back, Colwell at left center back, Silva in the middle. And then you have a midfield of Fernandes and Gallagher kind of in the midfield too. And then James and Chilwell pushing up, sort of. Liverpool in a 4-3-3, kind of standard for Liverpool. Trent at right back. McAllister as the 6. Clear lack of a DM impacted both sets of sides. It was really just a lot of offensive vibes, so to speak, as opposed to any sort of proper system. Like you didn't have a DM to be able to go and win the ball for either side. So it was just kind of like a tense affair, cagey. Salah got an assist for Diaz's goal, who assisted at Chelsea. They didn't count an assist for Chelsea. So Reece James, he went off injured at a certain point. Since that's happened, we've seen Pochettino come out and basically say, no, he was just tired. We'll see how that really manifests itself, especially with Chilwell also going off injured. This is very true by Liam Therm right here. Clear why Caicedo is wanted by both sides. It was just like really tough to watch the midfields try to win the ball back. There was really not a destroyer. What? From back to front, and once we move it, yeah, so 15 seconds. Yes. Okay. I see. That was a really good move though. Klopp is right. They helped Chelsea get back in the game. Convincing 2 wonderful goals. One was disallowed for an offside. Open door for Chelsea, lost the ball. Very true. We are a step further in the right direction. And the biggest kind of story here is Mohammed Salah. Mohammed Salah was subbed off and he was ripping off his tape. Like on his arm, he was ripping it off. And people were really kind of shocked. Chelsea was booing every time he ripped one of the bandages off. I heard that Liverpool fans were also booing this decision. And at the end of the day, I think, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Salah is just extremely, extremely competitive. And for him, his records, his goals, like they signify a lot to him as not just a player, but like his performance in the game comes down to, do I score a goal? And that's a good thing for an attacker. And Salah, there's been stories. There was like the anecdote of one of his teammates while Salah was playing in Egypt that basically said that Salah, after a big win for his side in Egypt, his team was celebrating in the locker room and Salah kind of tucked away in a corner and no one could find him. So this teammate tries to go find him. He finds him crying because Salah didn't score. Salah was, I believe, like 19 or 20 at the time. And while you would expect that from a younger person, I think that's more of just like an intrinsically Mohamed Salah thing. I think he is genuinely obsessed with scoring goals, and scoring on the opening day probably meant a lot to him. But at the end of the day, I think that's just his passion showing. He's frustrated, not even necessarily at Klopp, but almost at himself for not getting the job done, I would think. Obviously, there's going to be some level of kind of tension there with Klopp, but we've seen this with Sadio Mane in the past. If a Liverpool attacker is frustrated because they've been subbed off because they're playing bad or they didn't score or whatever it might be, Klopp has a solution. He has a fix. And I'm certain that both Salah and Klopp will, ease tensions. There won't be necessarily this air or tension or atmosphere surrounding the club that's negative, and I don't think it's going to really have too much of an impact on the season. I think Ben Doak looked promising when he came on. Obviously a big game, but at the end of the day, both Chilwell and Reece James went off injured. It was a really intense game out wide for both sets of sides. And with Salah, you don't want him getting injured. Klopp probably was like, I could kind of keep pushing Salah and maybe he scores, but do I want to run him into the ground? And I don't think that Klopp wants to do that this season. I think he wants to give Salah some time to kind of be at his full fitness throughout the whole course of the campaign, as opposed to playing him for a full 90 constantly. Obviously, in a big game like Chelsea at the Bridge, you might be like, oh, well, we got to win. We got to win. We have a chance to win. Salah's in. But at the end of the day, it's big picture. It doesn't matter that much long term. A point against Chelsea at the Bridge is, even though it is like, a completely different Chelsea from like Mourinho's Chelsea or Conte's Chelsea, this is still a big point for Liverpool because it's a major away fixture on the first day of the season. You're lacking a proper DM. So if you can go and you get a point, of course they were in the lead and Liverpool had a chance to still score and maybe win the game. But, given the situation, I think it was a bold move by Klopp. But at the end of the day, Klopp seems to, he can't win more often than not, it feels like. Because last season people were like, oh, well, he's too loyal for, the midfield options. And that was because for, the likes of Henderson, Fabinho, they played because Klopp didn't have any sort of option to, rotate in the squad. And while Ben Doak is obviously a massive drop-off to Mohamed Salah in terms of quality, Salah is levels and levels clear of Ben Doak. At least there's a player that can come in and provide some rotational options in that squad so that Salah can just get a rest. And obviously for Salah, the rest means a lot less than getting a goal and winning the game. And while if Salah did stay in, there was a chance that the game ends 2-1 for Liverpool, I feel like people are reading into it a lot. And I think that at the end of the day, it's just what it is. Klopp, he basically decided I don't want to run the risk of having my star player get injured. So I'm going to rotate him and get some minutes for a youngster who, at the end of the day, will probably feature a lot more for Liverpool, especially while Salah is away at AFCON in January of 2024. So at the end of the day, I think this whole situation after the match surrounding Salah kind of overshadows a game that in the first half was extremely exciting and the second half just kind of fell flat. I think Chelsea really showed up and showed their fans that they are going to kind of try and go out and win games consistently this season. They're going to be more progressive. And Liverpool, I think, also showed a lot of signs of promise, but there is clearly a lack of defensive presence in the midfield or just stability in the midfield, so to speak. Trent would invert at times. We'd see Robbo kind of push forward at times. And in both instances, it just kind of would materialize in certain situations that weren't all that exciting for Liverpool. There were some moments where Liverpool could have, gotten through, but at the end of the day, I think that the match was just kind of okay. Liverpool should be happy to leave with a point. Chelsea probably feel that they could have gotten another goal, especially being at home. Nicholas Jackson had a big chance that he just skied. That was another standout moment. Disasi's goal was decent in the sense that Chelsea was just kind of tenacious and they really wanted that goal before the half and they got it. Luis Diaz's goal was very brilliant. Very silky passing in the build-up. McAllister to Salah was incredible, and then Salah to Diaz was even more incredible. And Salah's been quite the creator as late. He's gotten 11 goals in his last 10 games, or 11 assists in his last 10 games. So, all in all, as a Liverpool fan, just kind of a eerie, unsettled atmosphere around the club, to be honest. A lot of people are on edge, and in many instances, I'd say rightfully so. The defensive midfield kind of hole is clear and everyone's kind of talking about it. And I'd say even the left center back kind of depth is shaky at best. And Liverpool need to kind of amp up on that as well. But at the end of the day, I think that Salah being frustrated that he didn't, continue his record and his tradition of scoring on the opening day, I think he's going to be very mad about that for a bit, but I don't think he's going to be mad at Jurgen Klopp for the extended, portion of the season. I think it's just going to kind of be in the headlines for a week, and then once he scores next weekend against Bournemouth or something, it won't, he'll be smiling and things will be fine and we'll be back to normal. But thank you guys so much for watching, or ladies, whoever you are that's watching. Comment below, what do you thought of the Liverpool-Chelsea game? What do you think of Klopp subbing off Mohammed Salah? And generally, what do you think of both of these sides' opportunities for this season? Where do you see them finishing, and how do you see them getting on? Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, consider liking and consider subscribing for all your Premier League, football, Liverpool, and sometimes Chelsea needs. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Sideline Sedo. Peace.